So I don't go mad.
And not be a nut job, right?
If I haven't come out,
have a habit.
If I haven't come out of lockdown as like a full nut job, I don't know what. Hello, welcome to the Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to Stream Streak Day. I actually can get this right. 360. Yeah, that's right. Nailed it. 360 days. No, that's wrong, because it's 69 next week. So, 362.
There we go. Got there in the end.
Smashed it. Hello, everyone. Welcome today. As you can see, while tooth surgery was painful, and it is quite swollen, I'm still able to talk. So, super happy about that. I'm joined by Mr. John Scrivens today. Hello, John Scrivens. How are you? I
am really good, actually. I've slept an awful lot this week, which I think sometimes is actually just required, right?
Yeah, I would say so. That lockdown depression giving us all some good sleeps is what I'm saying.
Although, Valheim, don't play Valheim, guys.
I'm not going to. AOS Pete, thank you for resubscribing. Hot Sauce Teddy, heyo. Diadrin, big love to you. Mr. Ho, Kids with Sids, Jog PLC. Love Jog PLC is always there in the chat. Scott B, talented bastard. N.A. Brooks, what's going on? Sergeant Rolf, the surgery was fine. Can I just take a moment? I don't know if anyone who's listening is any sort of frontline worker, but the dentist was wearing basically, John, like a space helmet with like an air circulation pack on his back. I don't know if you've seen. So
he's wearing a biohazard. He's wearing a hazmat suit.
Kind of, but it was more like it was far more into the future. Like it wasn't just like some plastic sheeting, and then
cut up bin bags then.
Yeah, and then the lady nurse was also wearing like a bunch of stuff as well. And it just struck me. I was thinking about it last night. It just struck me how much effort frontline workers, whoever they are, be they delivery drivers, dentists, doctors, nurses, how wonderful they all are, and how much money they should get paid more. That guy, that lady, all of them should like go home from the day. Is all I was thinking. They should just go home from their shift, sit in the nicest lounge with their feet up. No worries or stresses. Maybe even a very well-paid maid brings them some stuff. Like that's all I could think yesterday. Yeah. So,
first question there, Rob.
Yeah.
Was it a dentist or did you go to space dentist? Because that's what I'm seeing here. It's basically like they're space Egyptians. No, it's a space dentist. Done. That's what it was.
It was just a regular. It was actually an emergency dentist in a rough part of Nottingham. Where you have to get buzzed in through two separate doors. But anyway, all I wanted to point out... So
like an American school, then?
Yeah. Oh, my God, John.
I'm on fire today. I can't help myself.
Oh, my God. All I wanted to say was a special appreciation message from myself to all frontline people. Or anyone doing any job, of course. But those people just deserve loads of money and love. That's all I could think today. I know that's not very Warhammery, but I'm just putting that out there into the world. Teachers. Pay teachers like £1 billion.
Especially if they're mothers doing those jobs as well on today of all day in the UK being Mother's Day.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I'd like to thank my mother for being a bitch that made me who I am today. The salty man.
Knew it.
Had it not been for her, you guys would not have got the reactionary man that you get before you today. John, happy Mother's Day to you. You well? And all to you. Twitch chat are really my mother. That's what I'm going to say. John, you're kind of like my mother. You guys are all brilliant.
Oh,
how are you all?
Huh? Are you wearing a clean pair of pants today, Rob?
I am. Why?
Because I just have to check these things, because sometimes you get a bit carried away.
Oh, okay. I'm going to say hello to the chat, because I'm sick of you. General Beef, Ambulance Dudes wear those spacesuit rebreathers. Meanwhile, Muggins here working for the Fire Brigade has a dust mask and a disposable plastic apron whilst we both do CPR on the same guy. General Beef, I'm so sorry. I hope you get paid significantly well and also get a spacesuit similar at the same time. But also, General Beef, while, yeah, you both doing CPR, if there's a fire, you're going to smash it. Like, I bet that guy's not fireproof. Did you got married yesterday? R. Brown! Made a few mates, missed the Vic GT for it, feel a bit bad for them. Oh, happy, what'd you say? Congratulations?
Congratulations, Rob.
Okay. Bobbin, I'm hungover. First time in a year, love it. I bought Scarbrand 30 Bloodletters drunk last There needs to be a drunk YouTube show where people just get drunk. When we're out of lockdown, I'm doing this show in TSN Arena. This is one of the shows we're doing. I'm getting like a group of guys drunk, and then when they're good and sloshed, giving them like a couple of £100. Like, we'll crowdfund the money, a couple of £100 to buy an army. Well, they've got to buy it out of their own money. Do you know what I mean? Or like, we'll interview them sober and be like, what army do you think you want to buy? And they'll be like, yeah, so I've got my £200. This is what I want to buy. But then get them hammered and see what they end up buying later on in the show. That's a good show.
Oh, God.
That's a good show, John.
The amount of stuff that turns up at my house back in the day, and I was like, what? I don't even remember ordering this. Then I check my emails and go, yeah. I never thought I'd want this T-shirt. I'll never wear it.
That would be such a good show. That would be such a good show. Because it would just end up being like, it would start out with, I think, really like sensible meta picks, and then it would just end up with like large, monstrous looking fellas who they like give nicknames to, I would say.
Because if they're all staying in the same room, they'd sit there and slowly get more and more kind of like, oh, what about doing this? And they'd egg each other on to the point where they'd all be making silly decisions because it'd be funny.
Exactly. Razor Wolf, what am I painting? All right, Twitch chat, here we go. So I'm painting a weapons rack. So on Ollie Town, which is one of the boards which I'm painting up, there's a guard building. Is that right? A guard building. And then outside it, I'm going to put a little weapons rack and a guard dog. So basically, that's going to be one of the pieces of terrain. Not very complicated, just a little bit of like scatter terrain, but like next to the building. Flavor. So that's what I'm painting up, and then printing out some weapons. There's a really cool STL file from STL Miniatures, actually, which is really confusing.
I wonder what they do.
Exactly. I mean, they've nailed it with the name, but they do some really good merchant. Do you know what? I'll go find the link, John. While I ask you, how have you been? Have you been well?
Oh, yeah, I've been all right. I've done very little hobby in the last week, but that's okay. I'm trying to just stick to doing one unit at a time, and it's quite boring painting Space Marines.
How come?
Because there's only so much you can do to them, and there's lots of fiddly stuff. So that's taken me a while. I've got 5 heavy intercessors that I've just sat there kind of going, I need to get these done so I can just forget I ever bought them. But yeah, it's been all right otherwise. I'm getting kind of hyped for the Drukhari book.
Oh really? How come? Oh, because you have Drukhari, right?
Yeah, I've got a small little force of Drukhari, and I've been I was peeting around with them going, I'll just get these done. In between codexes and stuff, I can have some fun with these. And then it's kind of snuck up on me that I'm now kind of like, oh, there's a new book. And I was building stuff and kind of going, but which loadout do I take? And I've gotten to that point now where I'm almost having to wait because there's enough information starting to leak out. I'm like, I don't want to make the wrong choice. And I've magnetized a lot of the guns, but even then, it's still a faff, right?
Yeah, definitely a faff. Like, I would just wait, personally.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that one of the things that was quite clear from, like, the Death Guard book, I was like, come on. I paint Marines. Yeah. They can't, like, there's no way Marines aren't going to be important. And then it's basically like, just take Terminators, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. And like, it was watching everyone build all the knife Plague Marines, and then just like, looks like we're not going to have this anymore. Like all the different like loadouts that didn't quite fit. I'm like, I'm not doing that to myself.
Yeah, just heartbreaking. I think somehow with my Death Guard, I've managed to paint everything that isn't optimal. Like, I'm really, really impressed. 45 Marines, they're not Death Shroud or Blight Lords. Like, excellent. I've done Plagueburst Crawlers. They make it in the list at least. Like, for a book that's quite thin, like, it doesn't have a lot of options, yeah. I managed to paint a lot of what is never... Plague Drones, no. Not the ones I've got anyway. Fleshmowers, yes. Not the ones I've got. 7 Fitted Blight Haulers, no. Not them. Marines, no. Like, fuck. So
it's all right, Rob. In 10th edition, or maybe even like 9.5, it might be their chance to shine. Just a Psychic Awakening style book. That'll reinvigorate them for you.
That's all I need.
In 6 months' time.
What's everyone else in the chat said? Coloru, I'm just over halfway done with my World Eaters and I'm starting to get tired of edge highlight and brass trim. Oh, baby, me too. Joe PLC, I've been totally shit at paint this year. Half a Blood Bowl team, that's it. Baby on the way, so busy clearing the house. No one should be hard on it. We should all not be hard on each other today, like, or ever. Like, go at your own pace. Go at your own pace.
Just real world stuff that isn't hobby is kind of important to do, and if it's prepping for a baby, man.
Yeah, no, but I also mean it can feel very much like, right, I've got all this time because of lockdown. Yeah, let's get on with stuff. But then it feels, I'm normally a pretty motivated person, but I've had a pretty rough week this week. So just like, don't worry about it. Some days it's just going to kick your ass, and then just give it another try another day. Or some years it's going to kick your ass and give it a try another day. I'm just going to take my jumper off, John, because I'm super hot. So carry the show for a sec.
Yeah, you are. I'm just carrying it on these shoulders. There we go. Right. So also there was So yesterday there was the Vic GT. What did everyone think about the results for that? So Sin, our boy Smorgan did all right, didn't he? So Smorgan doing all right at a tournament.
Yes, so Smorgan came second. So we actually have so there are 2 Age of Sigmar tournament results. There's quite a lot to talk about on the show today. Sorry, bad intro for everyone. So there's some fun stuff. So that we have 3 cool things to talk about. There's the Warzone Charadon, which came out yesterday. We can touch on that. I think that's quite exciting. So that's the first campaign book for 40k. And then there is the new Seraphon Warband, which has just got some sweet-ass sculpts. We're talking about the rules for them. My friend Leo suggested that they've got an ability that's just roll D3 dice. Roll a D3 and remove that many models from the opposing army. 40 points for the unit. Don't know if that room is going to check. Don't know if that room is going to check out, but we'll see. And also, we can do some hype and guesswork about what's going to be happening next week in the preview on Saturday. So a bit of a bumper weekend for the Honest Wargamer crew. Saturday, we're going to be doing a live react reveal show as per normal. And then Sunday's the 369 birthday for the whole day. So, that's a great weekend. That's a a lot of Honest Wargamer content that is going to be medium to average. Only slightly more than normal.
Only slightly more than normal.
It's actually less than a tournament.
You're selling yourself a bit kind of short here these days, Rob, but you already do quite a lot.
That's true. Rob is now an ethot. Thanks, Believer. Ethot for the Twitch chat, used guys specifically all day. Militant Snowflake had the dentist go, it's fine. I talked about it earlier. Still painful and swollen, but I can talk, so that's all that really matters. I finally started painting my first mini in a year. Go on, Kids with Sids. I believe in you. And then also, Chris Seaby, my boy Lackey, got in his first win. So yeah, let's quickly talk about the weekend. A couple of things. We're obviously going to be reviewing what's happening tomorrow, John, on the actual Age of Sigmar Stat Center. So just a quick brief
with the Owen Jackson.
With the Owen Jackson. There was 2 events. There was SAGT and then there was Vic GT. Vic GT got taken out by Seraphon, and SAGT got taken out by a Slaves to Darkness list, a Marauders list, not a Marauders list. It was a super cool list. Can't wait to talk about it tomorrow. Really enjoyed the list. Really, really nice. Morgan came in second with Mixed Death as well. Vic GT got taken out with Seraphon. I guess some of the big standouts, actually, of the Vic GT, which is a pretty scary meta, ultimately, is that Sons of Behemat went 4-1. 2 different players, both Gemma and Coach, 4-1 at Vic GT, which a lot of people...
They were the same sub-faction, weren't they, as well?
Yeah. Now, a lot of people are obviously going to, throw out that they're amazing, and both Gemma and Coach are amazing, so, more love and respect to them all day long. I think I got some thoughts which are basically along the lines of, so I played Cabbage with Sons of Behemat once a few months ago. First game he beat me turn 1. Before I had a turn he beat me. Next game I beat him turn 1 before he had a go. As soon as you play it once, as soon as you play it once, you're like, oh, okay, we're all good. But they are, if you guys have been listening to any of the Age of Sigmar content I've been talking about recently, they are a DPS check, the Sons of Behemat. It's basically, can you block them? And can you kill them? That's kind of the conversation. I guess, can they kill you? But whatever. That's not really that important. So, so a good conversation, but also nice to see them doing well. Nice to see those players doing well. Nice to see some like good tournament results and information. I think that was fun. One of the things I was doing over the weekend, John, was generally perving on all of the tables. I was like, oh, it doesn't look like a lot of terrain on this. Oh, okay, that's nice. Like every single picture.
You've become a terrain snobber, haven't you?
I have become a terrain snob.
Welcome.
I don't even know if I don't even know how I feel about it yet. I was just looking, basically. I now look at every event and I'm like, what's the terrain like? Because it's genuinely going to affect games, and I am quite interested in that. So
it's going to affect my attendance to events once it all opens up as well. Like if I see an example of a table and go, that's an ITC table from 2 years ago, I'm out because it won't be good enough. Especially in sort of for 40k at the moment. I'm just like, I think Age of Sigmar is going to have that similar problem, perhaps.
Oh, there's a question in the chat from Natch I want to make sure I answer. Hi, Rob. Any tips on where to look for people that play a newbie in TTS? Yeah, absolutely. There's two places. You can get into the Hammer Time Discord, which I can find the links for you at some time. Mr. Owen Jackson will definitely put the link in.
Not that one.
Oh, there you go. It's in the chat already.
Not
if you
that
guys,
one.
oh no, we'll find it. We'll find a different link for you. So there's that. There's the Hammer Time Discord. Also, Coach's Discord. So AOS Coach has got a Discord where he's got a couple of people who'll teach people through new games of TTS. So you can go onto
fantastic.
That and do that.
I might
as well.
have to take them up on that.
What? And then you can know how to use TTS.
I don't know how to play Age of Sigmar.
You don't need to know how to. You don't like. You just get the double turn and win. I've seen it on the internet. That's what they tell me, John. Just do that.
Oh, and kill the characters. That was the other thing. I learned that one. Yeah.
There you go. You've got it. That's so easy. Just make sure you tell a convincing story, and we're completely in. Our pleasure, Natch. I hope that helped. AOSP 3D printing terrain is super addictive. It is. I'm currently on my first piece of 40k terrain, John.
Yes! I'm so excited for this. Because that's my thing at the moment. Like anything that's not an Imperium ruin, and I'm in.
So I'm doing the first board's going to be a Necron board. Very excited about it. Shout out! I did a tweet yesterday. I don't think people kind of got the nuance of what I was really asking for yesterday. A lot of people just being like, "Here's an STL of a crate," and I was like, "Yeah, no, not what I want." But yeah, I got some cool links. So I went and picked up something from big shout out to Hawkeye, giving me the rundown or the information on whatever it was. Let me tell you who it was right now, very quickly. Come on, Hawkeye.
So this is more, rather than it just being blobs of like monoliths and stuff, there's actual other styles of terrain, right, in this sort of STL set you've grabbed, I'm guessing.
Yeah, there's some generators and some other stuff. It's still not purposefully built, if that makes sense. Like, again, no one wants me to go onto the terrain rant I had the other day. It doesn't matter. I'll do it. Wednesday's the show. We'll talk about it.
Oh, fantastic. I'll be tuning in.
That's the one. Wait till you get to Necromunda terrain print, and I won't, but maybe. So I think this is my plan, John. So I've done all the Age of Sigmar boards now for the arena. Then I'm going to do all the 40k boards, and then I'm going to do Warcry and Necromunda tables and print them out.
And a Blood Bowl
Believer, thanks for donating 200 bits to the show. Thanks to everyone. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do like some like really nice Blood Bowl boards for like little stadiums and stuff. And I basically just want it to be so that like the whole venue can run a tournament with nice terrain for any game system, and we can just do a bunch of stuff then, and I think that'll be really nice. So yeah, looking forward to that. Anyway, and then I'm going to print storage. I'm just going to print it at my house. That's the nice thing about being single and no one loving me. I just put it all in my house. Like, who's going to stop me? I don't need no throws in my house, John. Although I have got some throws. Anyway, let's talk about
and chandeliers.
Chandeliers are nice.
Classic.
Sorry again, I have not seen that Kickstarter. Throw in the Titanicus board, Rob. Razor Wolf. Okay, yeah, I'll do all the game systems.
Yeah.
My first thing I'm going to do, John. I don't know about you and anyone else listening. First thing I'm going to do when I see whatever. So I would really like to play Cursed City. Think that would be super fun. Like paint the minis, take the time and play it. But I think over the time that it takes me to paint the minis, I'd like to like design and/or get someone to design some. I'm sure someone will. That's the lovely bit about it.
3D tiles to replace the card tiles.
Some 3D tiles, yeah. Yeah, I don't want to play on like weird cardboard. That makes me uncomfortable. Is all I'm going to put it as.
Hero Quest was like 30 years ago. We need to have moved on from that style of play.
Yeah. So, big question in the chat: how to 3D print a girlfriend? I'm actually going to 3D print a centaur. I was actually asking yesterday for centaur lady STLs, and everyone was like, "I don't have centaur lady STLs," and they're missing a market. Is all I'm going to say. A big shout out to Mick Wendell, who was like, at first he was like, "I'm confused," and later on was like, "Now I get it." I was like, "Good work, Mick." Curse City is going to be a treat with friends that are into board games. That's it for Zerna. That's exactly how I think Curse City should be introduced. Like, I can see like dates or friend meetups or anything, being Curse City. You could definitely do Curse City, right, John? I think that's super simple. Like, you could do that. I think that makes sense.
Although my board game lot, when we used to meet up, and we would kind of all turn up with a few board games. I turned up the first year with Blackstone Fortress, and they went, "Nah, you do enough of your Warhammer stuff. We're playing board games," because they still couldn't get past the Warhammer names. So there may be that element to it as well. Depends if people are that against it as a thing.
Yes. I don't know. Who knows?
It's a strange one, but
yeah. All right. I'm glad the value is in miniatures rather than terrain. Yes, Colonel Cabbage, agreed. I think that's the really good thing about Cursed City, actually, is that you're getting all the value in the game, and the miniatures and the cardboard's less important, so that's super good.
But those miniatures,
they're as good as any of the other miniatures produced by designers nowadays. That's what I'll say. It's true. It's just true. All right, so let's talk about the preview next week, ladies and gentlemen of the chat. Let me. Do you think we've shown off everything in the Dead and Divine, and blah 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 blah? We'll be showing new models and expansions for new models for Warhammer Age of Sigmar, expansions as well, which maybe we'll hear about. Maybe we'll get the third Broken Realm book announcement before we ever have
before we see it. Yeah, because Techless is number 2, right? And then Be'lakor, they've announced, is the
number
third.
3. Yeah, so the fourth one we still don't have any clue about.
Lariel!
I'm hoping Destruction. That's what I've got my fingers crossed for. Destruction. I think they're going to throw a curveball. Huh?
Snickrot, what's the Scragrot. That'd be cool, right? Give Scragrot some love.
Yeah, I think Scragrot getting some love is fine. Like, Death doesn't... I don't think that Death needs one right now. I think Death's all cool. And we also know Death is getting a huge release in the Gravelords. So I think, like, they've hit Order twice, Chaos. I feel there's room for Destruction. So that's what I'm vibing on. Underworlds, who cares? And Necromunda, exciting. Although it does look like... So there's... in these kind of, like, preview images... we've talked about this a little bit. There's a Mechanicum guy at the front, which is exciting.
Yeah, that's the Skitarii Alpha, which is basically a lieutenant from what they previewed before.
And then there's also a Mortek Archer that looks like at the back.
So the next Underworld's warband is meant to be Bone Reapers based on the symbol, so that's what that is.
Yeah, which means we'll get the first look at what maybe the second wave of OCR Bone Reapers is going to be, which is exciting.
And this last one, the left-hand one, it's got a moon symbol on the side, or it could be spiky. It looks to me like it could be an elf of some sort. It looks like they're holding a rifle. So I'm really confused by what this one is.
I want elves with guns. That would make everyone happy.
Shadow elves with guns. That'd be awesome.
Broken Realms Primaris Lieutenant. It works for me. I like it if any of these damn Broken Realms books touch my army, says Gorka Walker. I think that's one of the other things, John, with the Broken Realm books. A bit like the Psychic Awakening. Obviously, with Psychic Awakening, people were waiting a long time for some of their armies to get like these much-needed updates or revamps. Because pretty much, like with the Sylvaneth problem, you get your brand new book, and you're like, cool. This is my book for 3-4 years, maybe. Sometimes not. Sometimes like 8 months, depending if you're an elf or not. But the feeling of having to wait can be like a real issue, especially if that's the army you love. We had a lovely YouTube commenter who's very upset that we were ragging on Seraphon on the Stat Center show the other day. And so I just messaged him and I was like, "Hey, dude, You seem to be having a rough day. It's not fun. I understand it. But he was saying, I've been playing this army for years, and I just want it to be good, and you're saying it's too good. And I'm like, okay.
That's a horrible conversation to have, isn't it?
Yeah, but imagine the other conversation where you get your book and it's terrible, and then you got to wait 4 years, like, because no one cares. No one cares.
7th edition orcs. That was me. I was just going. They'll get better eventually. Please don't wipe me off the table, turn 1.
So, Rolf, can we talk about Sergeant Rolf? We can absolutely talk about the 40k campaign, but we'll talk about it in a minute. I promise. We'll just keep talking about the reveal at the weekend. I cannot wait. I love how they bring out different concepts, says Fazerna, for existing armies with Underworlds. I cannot wait for the Idneth Warband. It's very exciting. I think it gives them an opportunity to like practice new like designs, see how they sit.
Because they did it with Zarbag, for example, before getting the Gloomspite Gits. It was a good couple of months between, so they obviously had that as a way of testing the concept of kind of updating things like the squigs and the actual Gits themselves.
Yeah. Had a thing in the chat. Rob Kelly says, I heard on other podcasts that Seraphon aren't that strong, though. That's because the other podcasts are mainly competitive focused and we're more narratively focused. And as a narratively focused podcast and show, obviously, one of the things about Seraphon is they have such a strong story. Also, the painting meta is just so good on them, John. Who doesn't want to paint dinosaurs? So they've kind of got like almost the triumvirate of strength. And really, that's when I say they're too strong. That's what I'm talking about. As a narrative show. That's an important point. I would love the Umbraneth to carry the flavour from Malice Darkblade from World That Was, just a faction of Dark Possessed. I don't think the Umbraneth are anytime soon, although green is good. The fact that we do know that they have a name, Umbraneth, and we do know that Umbraneth as a name was either an Easter egg stuck into a Warhammer community site, community article.
That was a fuck up. That was such a fuck up.
Or it was who knows? Or it was a fuck up. Also, John, big shout on us both wearing Honest Wargamer t-shirts today. Big love. I've got my ogre
shout out
t-shirt
to Tom
Wallace. Yeah, look at this.
Hero.
These look sexy. Anyway,
man, that was a year ago, Tiger King, Rob.
Was it?
That's a year ago.
Raise Wolf says, on a serious question, I think Val said on the 40k Jason show, but aren't campaign books banned if you play in Grand Tournament book? There's no statement on that yet. It could be Pete and Val knowing something ahead of time, but they look like match play rules.
So the thing to remember, that's the Grand Tournament Pack 2020. So when the Grand Tournament Pack 2021 drops, it will say only books from this day onwards, I predict. It's a way of them clearing out Vigilus and all that sort of gumph, but then freeing up for new stuff.
Yeah. Plus they'll just retcon it. They'll just FAQ it so it's allowed. So they want to show you the books, man. I've got my water bottle too. Big shout out, Diadrin. Let's go. Right. Hey, Tom. What's going on? So, yeah, I'm not really certain, John, with the Be'lakor Malarian. I don't necessarily expect that yet. Mandoli's asked a question about whether or not we expect AOS 3 to be announced yet. I'd say no. There seems to be some, I spoke about this a bit yesterday. There's some major issues really with supply chain problems, right?
Huge.
Yeah, huge. If we get 40k books at this pace, it's something like it's going to take 3 years just for everyone to get a codex.
Not that you can buy the ones that are out either. So, as a person that stocks the stuff, I can't even order a Death Guard codex at the moment, and I'm the closest you can be by being in the UK to their supply chain. If it's already that wonky here, you're doomed.
Yeah, well, I think it's worse in other places.
Yeah, well, if it's that bad this close, it can't be any better outside of the UK. From what I understand,
so normally, so Adepticon is March. When's Adepticon normally? March.
Yeah, we've already had the reveal that would have been that.
Oh, have we? Because that's normally when we get the new reveals. That's when we normally hear about a new edition or something.
Yeah,
similar.
It's normally around this time. I think it was the beginning to mid-April. We had the reveal of 8th edition 40k.
We
I only know this
because
I was at Warhammer World.
Did we have the announcement for the new edition 40k coming? Yet there were still Psychic Awakenings to be released.
Yes, there were still 2, and that was at the beginning because the lockdown basically just seemed to freeze everything. And they had, what was it called? Pariah, which I don't think they must still have a whole pallet of Pariah books somewhere because no one bought it.
Big shout out to Guy Zaidi. I saw he said that he'd been in a real world tournament earlier. I just want to say I'm really happy for him and everyone in Israel, and I hope they're having a great time. I think AOS 3 will be delayed until next year. I don't think that. I'm not vibing on that.
They can't afford to. Their stockholders will go very mad.
They also just don't have enough releases, because it's like your Broken Realms, however many there are. I think 4, maybe 5, but probably 4. Boom, 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 and then no releases. What, you're gonna just stop?
If it was Psychic Awakening and there was like 10 of them, they could drag it out for a year perhaps, but that doesn't seem likely, does it?
So I don't expect that this weekend. I expect to just see some new models. I expect them to touch on some stuff and update some things, and we'll see. But like, obviously, one of the things they also said was supplements as well. So
and for Necromunda, touching on that quickly before we forget, it's Cawdor is the next one lined up. So that'll be lots of good fodder for making cultists.
Oh, for Necromunda?
Nurgle kit batches, yeah.
Oh, okay, sweet. Do you know the background for Cawdor?
Not really. I just know that they're very good at being killed by poisonous snakes that I used to use.
Okay, let's go find out. House Cawdor Necromunda. Let's go find out what they're about, shall we?
I had the original gang of them, but they basically just looked like those with hoods.
Also called the House of Redemption.
Yeah.
It's one of 6 hive cities in Necromunda Hive Primus, known for its rigid adherence to the Cult of Redemption. House Cawdor is dedicated itself entirely to the redemptionist cause, and the cult has attained the status of an official religion in Cawdor, uniquely among the Hive's houses, making Cawdor the stronghold of the cult and effectively controlled by it. It just keeps saying code a lot. Oh, okay. The codes of their religion forbid them from showing their faces in public upon pain of death, and so Cawdor can be recognised by the hooded jackets or heavy, elaborate masks which they wear to conceal their features. Ooh-hoo-hoo-hoo! Okay. All right, nice. I like a bit of narrative, obviously. There's Zealots. Thanks very much, Twitch chat. Big love to you.
Yeah. And they're great fodder for kit bashing, 100%.
I really enjoy rapid but religious dump stuff. I really enjoy let's describe a faction, but as quickly and succinctly as possible. Give me Blood Angels. Twitch chat. I'm going to keep throwing this out as we go through today. I think this will be funny.
I think Red Boys.
Red Boys works. Red Boy Vampires. That's it. Right, yeah. Okay. So then the other thing that is in the news, obviously, sorry again, they haven't released everything for Sangi Boys. That'll do. That's all we need. Space Vampires. I think that's the most obvious one.
Yeah.
So the Warzone Charadon. So this is the 40k campaign book. 40k campaign book, and we've heard that there's going to be some of it out. Again, announced ages ago. Like, we're starting to see some stuff for it. Do you think, John, once the supply issues are released or sorted, do you think we're just going to get like double codex, double Battletome releases, like consistent? You think?
So before, the original schedule was they were going to have 2 codexes drop a month, and they were going to basically, I think they're going to be 2 weeks apart and just be dropped kind of super quickly because they were trying to catch up at that point, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And traditionally, last edition, they started that way as well. They did 2 at a time, once a month, and it was terrifyingly quick. So I think they're trying to keep that momentum anyway.
But they obviously haven't right now, so that's problematic. Okay. All right, so the Warzone Charadon, the Charadon, is Metallica, right? So Metallica, so all of the Nurgle boys go and invade Metallica. Super cool. Now,
Typhus, isn't it, with the Black Legion?
Yeah. Now, there's some campaign rules, which is fine and is all good, and some Warzone stuff, and there's also some Crusade rules, which you can just cut out and put in a bin. But then the army rules, John,
it's great fun. It's great fun, but it's a different game. That's the point. It's playing a very different game.
I'm super into Crusade. I think I think it's really nice for those sorts of people, but I'm just not those sorts of people.
Yeah.
I don't know what else what do you want me to say, man? What do you want me to say? You got people who fuck,
It's not
and you got people who
hurting
play
you.
Crusade. Those are the two groups.
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
that's
all right.
not my fault, man.
Us
Like I
married
didn't write
people
the.
like
I
to
didn't
play Crusade. All right?
That's not my fault. Yeah, it's
Well,
mad at
maybe
me
it should
about
be your
it.
fault.
Anyway,
Yeah. So the interesting thing for this campaign, so traditionally, if you were going to run a campaign of your own sort of game, there's no framework to it. It's having attacker, defenders, and raiders. So they're actually trying to design some actual structure to doing campaigns. Whether it's going to be any good is a whole different kettle of fish, I think.
Yeah, we're two people. Right, I love all you Twitch chatters.
Yeah.
The key point here is the army rules, right? So this is the match play section. 20 pages, 22 pages of the 96 pages that we get in this book are match play. So, like, it's a significant portion, right, of the book. And
I think this forewarns to me what books should be out by now if they'd been going to their original schedule.
Do you think that's the case?
I think so. So because we had a preview of like this Skitarii Prime, which they used as a focus. I think originally, if anything, they would have dropped. Yeah, that was one of those. And don't worry, we've just launched a new edition. Here's some new stuff, and it was the Palatine and him, the Lord of whatever his name is, the Nurgle dude, and an orc. So I think we would have totally seen them come up now. So traditionally, I get the distinct impression. So like, if we go through the list, Mechanicus is one of them, and if that model's being revealed, that makes me feel like they're going to drop the book at the same time.
Oh yeah, of course, because we don't know what the next 40k book is, do we?
No. So at the moment, after Chitarii, it's blank, and to me, I thought it was going to be Admech and Knights because of this book.
They're my boys.
I'm not proven wrong. I'm not proven wrong at the moment.
My mechanical boys are my boys. Also, all like very much like my Death Guard, all the mechanical models I own are the rubbish ones. Yeah, but I'm into the stonks for this, John. Yeah, I'm getting the flip, right? I've bought into the dip. Yeah, all my stuff is the like kind of first, second wave stuff, not the new stuff where it was the floaty tanks, to quote Tom.
And the gyrocopter thing and the bird boys.
None of the gyrocopters, who, again, can we talk about the gyrocopter should be nerfed into oblivion so we never see it on the table? What the hell is all I'm going to say.
I was going to make a Chinook out of one, and then they legends the Chinook, so it saved me the hassle there. So I'm feeling really happy right now.
Right, anyway, but like I'm in the dip, and I'm just got like big diamond hands on all my. So I'm
watching you dip.
I've got dragoons. Yeah, they're rubbish. Let's get the dragoons be good. Yeah, I've got loads of different Skitarii and the Forge-Old Skitarii. Big love on those, hoping they're good. The floaty tanks can be good because we need a transport, so I'm okay with the floaty tanks being fine. Would hate. I think there is a problem. Stu Black was the 40k manager for a long time. He had a collection of the Castellan robots, like the big, the big robots with the phosphor blasters on.
The ones that don't look like the rest of the army.
Yeah. So he had a big collection of them. So for some reason, that's why we had to deal with that bullshit for like 4 years of them being super good. Like, it's all like nepotistic. Like, that's how all the rules are written. It's just like, really, you should just follow what the different design leads are playing, and then you're all good. Like, you know where you're at.
Does Eddie playing orcs mean that we're going to get good orc rules then? Because they don't want to disappoint Eddie.
Nah, man, because Eddie proper fucks. Eddie's like all painting, all story, all day. Like, he doesn't care what the result is as long as like he's like you know when they like talk about they want this like perfect Warhammer person who like paints beautifully, models really well, loves the lore, and doesn't care about the outcome of the game, just wants to have fun.
Yeah,
that's Eddie Eccles. He's like he is
what
the
a hero.
He is the product. Yeah, but
he's the result.
Yeah, he does fuck. Like, because in the painting matter, 11 out of 10. The copter is not amazing, Pete. I'll fight you on that all day. What the hell?
I love it, but I love how dumb it is. That's the point.
Do you love it? Who likes it?
It's such a 40k thing. You look at it and go, that doesn't make sense. But none of it makes sense. It's like feudal space fantasy where they could just bomb a planet. Instead, they send down brightly coloured space marines with guns to shoot at aliens. Makes no sense.
I don't know if I agree.
It's sword and sorcery in space. It's not meant to make lots of sense. It's a fucking dragon, basically.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just way more, like, so you know how Sisters of Battle are like monastic?
Yeah.
They've got like, I have no issue with like a vehicle with like basically a church on the back.
I just love it. I love it. Like my Dark Talon. It's just got a church.
I'm all about that. Like, I'm not like I don't want no one throwing rocks at me on that one. Like, I'm like, we're on the same page. Big love for that.
Yeah.
Just the copter's like, yeah, what are you saying? What's this about? Like, whereas all the doesn't matter. We don't need to talk about this.
We just need to stick a church on it.
All right, perfect. Yeah, I'll just do that, and then it'll be fine. Thanks, appreciate you. Yeah. Oh wait, the fonts and colours. Oh, Zaddy guy. Of the preview logo this week match the AdMech colours and font too.
Yeah.
John, is that real?
Yep. Yep.
Ooh. Okay.
It's because they're doing the other thing to note from this contents page alone. There is something called Armies of Renown. I have a theory on this. I've not read anything.
A fucking deep dive theory from John Scrivens. I'm in.
Do you want me to tell you what my theory is?
Please do.
I think that is going to be essentially a way. So look at the Mechanicus defense cohort.
Yeah.
That'll be a way of souping in things that they don't normally have in, perhaps. So it could be a way of introducing like things outside to make like or it's either two routes. It's like a way of souping stuff together. So like the Assault Force one, the Terminus one, if that's like a mixture of like Typhus with some other Chaos guys, normally if you put them together, because it's Death Guard, you'd break your Battleforge.
Yeah.
So it's a way of getting around that, perhaps. It's that, or it's formations.
Okay.
And I don't like the formations, because formations sucked when they were basically a free way to get free stuff like a drop pod.
It's definitely formations, though, John.
I know, I hate you, because I know that that's a fact. I've seen it too many places, and it's making me sick. I've got PTSD from like, hey, look, I've got my demi company. Looks like I'm getting a free drop pod.
So if anyone is new to 40k, generally since 8th and 9th, in 7th edition, there was these things called formations, where basically you just got free additional rules if you took some stuff, and they were over the top. Yeah, so the Vigilus Detachments 2.0.
Rest in peace, the Super Pup Shopper. Oh, it's all my army could do.
Tom, I don't want you to ever tell me about any of the formation horrificness from 7th edition. Thank you so much. He's just saying words in the chat, all of which sound awful. I've seen some people say things with like misty eyes, like saying, you know, the same way they'd say Vietnam. Yeah, they're like aspect host. Same. They got that same energy too.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
And then the awkward one was you get to war twice, and if you're at Warhammer World, people be like, "Oh, you got a war out loud twice now," and you're like, "Shut up, stop this! I'm a grown man," and I still did it.
Right. So yeah. I think this is going to be their thing, right? So you're going to have all the books, and I agree with you, John. Actually, now that you've said it, like probably all of these books should already have been out. And then we've got these codex supplements. So Metallica as a codex supplement. And then that makes me think that in other, like, that they'll explore the design space for these. Because surely if there's an AdMech book, right? There's an AdMech book. There's going to be...
It won't have Metallica in as its own thing then.
It would have Metallica.
It'll have the basic single layer to it. It'll be like, here's your basic bit, and then they'll deep dive into this at this point, right?
Yeah. And then it'll be, so I think we're getting expansions. So I would say if they were free, I'm going to be super crystal clear on this. I would say if they were free, that the codex supplements to core books. So let's say you bought Space Marines and then they released each one of the additional like supplements is 100% the model that I would like to see them do for each one of the armies. So I would love for them to do Mechanicus, and then I would love a different codex supplement. I don't want to pay £25 for each one, of course I don't, but I do love the idea that they actually take all of the millions of pounds that they earn and they actually expand their own IP and game. So they take Metallica and Riser and all of those, and we get a book, and you could read the story, and you're like, oh, that's fucking cool, I love that, got some cool rules to play with it and make your themed army better. It touches all of the points that they that they talk about as being the key points of their hobby or their game. It's super like their core mission statement, right? Make more interactive and interesting games. It's their core mission statement, and it's also super good for the audience all along the way, I think. I don't know about you. Like, because imagine you got to Orcs, or like pick an army you want. Like, I mean, they haven't done it for Necron, so they're not going to, are they?
Well, just look at the Orc clans. You get a little box normally, and that's all it says about a clan.
Mm-hmm.
Why not drill into that? I want to see the variation and give me models of that stuff. That's just printing money for them, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, I mean, like, they're going to charge for it at the end of the day, so whatever. But, like, if we end up with a product it's pretty hardcore that you have to buy, like, 1 billion trillion books, but probably already disavow yourself that you should do that anyway. And then if you move on from that, like, it's actually quite good that there's just loads of content. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, Colonel Cabbage has said about the Drakari book dropping and then this Cult of Strife supplement being so close together, and will it not be in the Codex? I think it's going to be the equivalent to, you've got the Space Marine book, and you've got the snippet of your chapter tactic for, say, Dark Angels. So you've got that there, but to get all the other stuff, you have to use this book. It's entirely how they've done this as a model for so long now. It doesn't surprise me, and that seems the most logical way that they're going to do it.
Yeah, I agree. And then also, like, as a way, like, so if you are an Imperial Knight player, you are getting some rules to maybe bump up your army right away.
Yes.
So it's a nice way, like, so let's say Imperial Knights, not that I think that they are, but let's say Knights. I'm pretty certain there are more Knights on the horizon, right? Did I hear a rumor about that? I don't know.
Everyone thought it was, but I think it was a Titanicus reveal, wasn't it, at the time?
Oh, no, I think I'm hearing that from a different place. Who knows?
Oh, there we go.
I'm like, is that a memory I had? I don't know. But the point is, like, let's say Knights are at the end of the Codex release cycle. It's a way of being able to, like, bring up the Codex a little bit ahead of time.
Yeah, so, like, they're putting in Armies of Renown Freeblade Lance. I can't say I've ever seen someone play a Freeblade army, because there was always other houses that actually served a better purpose mechanically.
Yeah, but that's because those guys are jerk power gamers. They don't want to play the narrative like us on this channel. Nick and Tom were always playing the Free Blades. I'm pretty certain. I'll have to double check that fact. Don't quote me. Is the point. So anyway, Mechanicus Defense Force, which is cool. You think that it's going to be a way to put other stuff into a Mechanicus army that's outside of the Codex? Interesting.
I feel like it's a weird... Like, to me, it makes sense as an opportunity, right? If you've got a detachment, it's a detachment that doesn't break Battle Forged, but the prerequisite units can be from 2 armies. Or whatever, as an example. So, like, to me, like, if there's a Chaos one there, the narrative is that they've said that it's Typhus teaming up with Black Legion. Currently, they don't interact well together for a list. So if it can fix that, you'd then be able to play that for the narrative anyway.
Okay. All right, fair enough. So then, yeah, Metallica, Raven. So we get Knights, Mechanicum, and we're getting Chaos. I'm excited for the Chaos stuff. And we're also getting...
Chaos? Fester Discipline, Rob.
Yeah, I know.
Below, that's another... Poxy thing.
So Festus is going to have his own, like, spell lore, basically, his own psychic tree. Sorry, psychic tree. I'll make sure I call it the right thing. I'm really
Discipline.
into that. Yeah, really into that. That's going to be cool. Like, at the end of the day, I think that there is a good conversation about bloat very often. Like, there being a lot of bloat. But as long as it's released in a format you can understand, where I get, like, if it's like there is a book and a supplement, I'm like, fair enough.
Yeah.
If it's a book, a supplement, a White Dwarf additional, a follow-up book, I just feel like, I mean, I guess if it's like a book, a supplement, an additional supplement, and a White Dwarf, it feels a lot, really. It feels chunky.
And I guess if you're playing into their ecosystem, if you, for example, or point of kind of, if you use their app, you've bought Codex Drakari, you've got it loaded up into the app, you've built your list using that, and then you've bought this. You don't need to take the book with you because the book would be in your app. So if the app was actually functioning and actually usable, you'd potentially have that one page of stuff on the app. So you wouldn't then need to take a book with you.
I forgot about the app.
As a system, if that worked, that would be a solution to not having all the books in person. You'd have them at home, but not with you in person, perhaps.
No. That's what Dashmi's saying. I do feel like I'm being taken for a ride, though. And that feels like I'm going to carry around 2 or 3 hours. But, like, we're all like, hey, Dolthar, big love. We're all dudes. We're all like smart digital fellas. Like, there isn't anyone in this Twitch chat who isn't able to like construct this as like a PDF in their own phone. Like, we carry little computers around with us. Like, they're fucking out of their minds. Like, and also Battlescribe exists. Like, there's like no conscious way that like we physically have to carry 3 books to an event. Like, it's like, and if a TO is like, you must bring your books to the event, probably a mug is what I'm going to say. Like, how they don't have a digital copy of each one of the codexes available when they need it. Like, I'm not vibing
Yeah.
on that.
Every event I've been to where it's had that as a prerequisite, I have seen multiple people not turn up with books, and there's been no accountability for it. So fuck it.
Don't do that.
And one of them was Warhammer World, where they're like, you got to bring your stuff. It's like one guy didn't bring a tape measure.
We're just using dice. This dice is actually an inch long, so I'm going to just put out dice in a row. That's what I'm going to do. That's how I measure.
I hate you, Rob.
Do you think Craftworld Codex will get supplements of each named Craftworld once the main one is out? Kelbar, I wish that they would, but based on the Necrons not getting that treatment, probably they won't.
Necrons is a weird one because there's not quite the level of like. I don't feel people are completely kind of drilled into all the different the dynasties as much. But Eldar,
that's what I'm saying. If they did the supplements, if you did the supplements, that's how you'd be into it. You'd be like,
they've done Eldar ones before, haven't they? It was like 4th or 5th edition. They did a couple of the Craft Worlds.
It really it makes my mind boggle that they leave the money off the table, but they don't also expand their game at the same time. Like, it's mental. And also, like, weirdly, like, have retracted. Yes, to Canhammer Darren, and also big shout out to my OG Charlotte. Whoop whoop.
I miss Darren.
Yeah, he's lovely. Sergeant Rolf, we do need a Craft World. I'm not going to say that next word in case my OG Charlotte's listening. She says she is also a streaker. Big love to Charlotte. Yes. Whoop whoop.
Yeah, the Iandan one they did for Craft World. So they have done them before, and then they don't stick to it. So is it a sales decision? Probably not. They're probably
it's not
just
a sales
come up
decision.
With something.
It's anarchic. It's cutting the head off the chicken and letting it run around. But, like, it's just, I want it so badly, like, in my bones badly. And I know, like, normally I'd be the first person to, like, be like, going on about bloat. But like you say, John, there is, like, a way to digitally produce all that information for yourself. And I think that's the best way of doing it. The community are hilarious. The ability, for what the community can put together, just blows my mind. Like,
I've often seen
like
copies of stuff before it's even out. Like, not even just, like, dodgy photos, but full, almost PDFs. And you're like, how are you doing this so quickly?
What I enjoy is PDFs where people have set it up so you can keyword search. Like, then you just just living your best life. Charlotte says she's half Nagash. Anyone's wondering, Charlotte is Darren's young daughter, and she's an angel. Big shout out to half Nagash, half Charlotte in the chat. The Authorway got another update in Eye of Terror. They had a third ed supplement that was specially rules for each of the Craft Worlds, and then they stopped.
Yeah. It's like they tested something out and went, oh, that worked well. Let's move on to something completely different and never come back to this ever again.
Blighted Legionnaire says, I would like a codex for 9th first so I don't get my teeth kicked in for playing my favourite army. That's fair. I think that's what everyone wants, of course. Yeah. Like, you know. But then, like, I almost also feel for GW. Like, because they obviously drip feed the release. Like, they could do all the work so they could release each one of the codex. Like, you could do, like, 9th edition, all codex, new codexes go on sale, yeah. But they drip feed it in case you might want to pick up a Drukhari army now. And they're like, right, next month they're like, what if you want to do an Admech army? Like, they drip feed it.
If they drop 5 books, you're going to pick up one of them, maybe 2 of them. But if they drip them out over the course of months, you might pick them all up.
Yeah. That's true.
100%, isn't it?
Yeah. It's pretty great that the community can make more functional products for free. It is. But it's also great. All right, so yeah, that's the new book that's coming out as well. I, for one, am at least excited about the story. I genuinely am. I think the narrative is going to be super fun. Although I am a little perturbed, actually, because of the lead. Have we had any good narrative, actually?
No.
Because
I have not read any good narratives for 9th edition so far.
Because they've really cut back on how much narrative is in the 9th ed codexes, right?
Yeah, so I think there's 10 pages for the Dark Angels.
What, in the Dark Angels supplement is 10 pages?
Let me just count it for you.
Oh, wow.
And 2 pages of that are Azrael.
Right.
So this is the one bit of Dark Angels narrative that people were waiting for. It's 1 page that basically says Azrael's talking about where he's lost Luther. Because it's like losing your car keys, right?
Right.
The first heretic of your chapter, you're like, where is he? I don't know. Have if you looked under the sofa. No, he's in the Somnium Stars, and that's where they're all going now.
So they're all
Brilliant.
going over to the Somnium Stars to kick his head in.
Yeah, the last time that Azrael did that, I'm not gonna try to roll people up, but it became the Wrath of Magnus campaign.
Do you think that
Where he went?
So Tristan in the chat says that one page was worth it. Would you say the one page of narrative is worth it?
I really enjoyed reading it because I was like, finally, I got a nugget, but it felt like I was given, like, you know, when you go to like an animal petting zoo and you just give them the little handful of seeds and they're there obviously starving their face off going, can I have a bit more? But you're going to the next place to feed the next animal. That's what it feels like. They're just going up to eat. It's like all the armies are just in little pens and they're just feeding us each a little bit of food going, there you go, that'll tide you over for another edition. Your narrative fucks. Oh, thanks. Thanks, sir. More, sir.
You describing Games Workshop stores as zoos where you pet adults? Is that what's happening? But you pay to be petted. You pay to be petted.
Heavy petting.
Okay, wow, John, you're really aggressively into that.
Well, it's just it's something that they've got. It's like, if only they had like a whole selection of authors that knew the story, knew the narrative. They maybe employed them to write books as a thing. Maybe some of their lead writers of the games were writers as well. They could maybe put this stuff into these army books. That could catch on, right?
Yeah.
If only they knew people to do this stuff.
Honestly, like if they were smart, they could literally, instead of having actual creative writers themselves, they could just crowdfund the story, have loads of submissions, just curate that, and you could have like a book this thick with like Darking or any lore, right? Just like that thick, and just be like, there you go, boys, and just like smash it. That's what they could do.
But imagine really if you released a book, like say you do a book for Craft World Iandan, you then at the same time release a book about that Craft World. But what you do is you put the first chapter in that codex as well as part of the narrative, as a way of getting people interested in the book. Other companies do it. Why don't they?
I think one of the things that we miss, actually, no, honestly, for a second, I touch on a point which I talk about a lot. Like, so it goes on to a conversation that me, Neil, and Tom had, I think off air the other day. And I was talking about the fact that I hate with a passion the logo objective maps that you see for 40k.
Ben.
For 40k. Like, it's like hot garbage. Like, it's hot garbage. And my reason for that is I absolutely understand, I know we're a narrative channel, but I absolutely understand that, like, the purpose of, like, a competitive event is to be competitive. That doesn't mean, though, we have to escape the fact that I think you can have a competitive game that also ties in with the story and looks like the story. That's what brings it alive, right? You can have a competitive
a good event
game.
Should be a Venn diagram of it, right? Practicality and functionality, and also visually appealing, because it's a visual hobby.
Yeah, but I don't think you like the logos on the mats. In no
obnoxious.
way, like they're not practical. Like the mats are practical, but the logos do not require them to be practical. Like they take you out of the setting. They look ugly as hell, and they just don't like. They're not characterful. Like is the point. So no. I'm out on, and my point was is that like a big thing about the Games Workshop stuff, as an example, and I think the reason it's so successful even when the game is not very good, and I think both games are in a very good place, I'd like to point that out, yeah, even in that situation, the immersive nature, the story is the compelling part. Even if you're not much into the story, like you get it a bit, like you've read a bit, you've read your codex stuff at least, it's all you need to know, and if your codex like slim, I think it's just important. So no Honest Wargamer logo maps then? No, so sorry.
No.
They're not.
That's why we spent hundreds of hours figuring out the best way to make those lovely clear ones.
Hundreds is strong. Like,
hey,
dozens.
Just because you weren't involved in the conversations.
I was involved.
you were there, Rob.
Maybe a chariot burned the grass to write words in a foreign tongue on the mats. In different colours, High on Heresy. In different colours. I don't believe that in
with
any way.
vector artwork with a logo of your club.
It looks so ugly. It's like there was an event in Texas this weekend.
Oh, don't, Rob. Please don't.
Like,
I got
no,
so
honestly,
angry.
and the pictures from the event are awful. Like, they're just awful. Big love to the guys. It's a 40k event. Big love to the guys prepping it. And if people bring their own objective markers and they want to use them, fine. But like, there needs to just be like an out and out cry against them, in my opinion. And it's definitely like it's also like super American, right?
Yeah, it's like having your sports car with every single surface of the sports car covered in a symbol. It's like, I don't need that.
You don't have to get our see-through ones as well. Don't use them at all. I'd rather you didn't use the see-through one. Like, if you're like, oh, it's just because you've got the see-through ones, Rob. No, fuck it. Never buy them. Don't buy a single one. Like, ever. Like, I'm not saying that. Just use a token and measure properly. Who cares?
Good example. You can design your table around it. So, Dark Fantastic Mills does 6-inch blob bits of like ruined floor. It can look pretty and be functional. It doesn't have to be obnoxious.
Yeah. And it's not. I'm not talking about it so you guys can then like jump on a link to the see-through ones that we have. It's not what I'm trying to get at. I just hate the trend. Like, if someone put them in front of me, I'm like, oh, gross. Like, gross. I am not playing with those. Because, sorry, my point was, because the reason I bring it up was because of the content, the codex content for the narrative for the game. Because it's important, John. Like, it's important, man.
Yeah.
Like,
it's what we're in it for. Like, if it wasn't 40k, we wouldn't be buying these slightly, like, quite a lot more expensive models, and we wouldn't probably be so invested in it. If it wasn't for that whole core of the game, without that, we'd all be playing like some other game.
Would we?
Doesn't need. I think so. Like, if there was another game that had that kind of the way of kind of getting its tendrils into you because of the actual story in the background were that kind of
okay. So interesting question, right? Actually, because I would say three other like top games at the minute that people are playing that aren't Warhammer related are. Yeah, that aren't done by Games Workshop, sorry. So obviously there's Lord of the Rings and other stuff are. Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Yep.
Yeah, with loads and loads of background, I guess. And obviously films, huge franchises.
Yeah.
So Marvel Crisis Protocol, A Song of Ice and Fire, and...
Legion? Star Wars Legion.
Star Wars Legion, thank you. Star Wars Legion.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, with 3 huge IPs, right? Like, and also X-Wing. X-Wing's also a thing, 100%. Yeah. But I more mean like... And I know it's a miniatures game, but I do feel like X-Wing is different to those 3 and that whole conversation. I think X-Wing is its own thing. Like, I still think it's obviously a miniatures game.
It's slightly less because it's the pre-painted element to it and the cards and stuff. It becomes a very different style of game.
Just want to read out Gitney's thing in the chat. Brother Captain Pernius, the objective is in sight. Where, brother? Over there, with the Army Painter logo on it, next to the munition silo, for the Emperor, brother.
Exactly that. I can't.
Have you seen the absurd amount of cards and Star Wars Legion bought? Bloody hell, yeah, like, that's what I'd agree. Kings of War as well. I guess so, MMX James, but I'm not sure Kings of War really has the narrative of, like, when you're talking about the output of the Marvel universe, the A Song of Ice and Fire universe and Star Wars universe, I don't think Kings of War necessarily like compares in kind of scope to a general audience. My point is, though, is that while I don't know anything about the game systems at all, whenever I see... I do know a bit about Marvel Crisis Protocol, actually. Yeah, the story is like... So when someone is playing Starks versus the Lannisters, and I see that as a miniatures game and a picture on Twitter...
a hustle, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, all right, like I'm vibing on that. Like that's cool. Like, I get the story. I think that's super important.
Yeah.
So I think...
It's the reason why people buy the games, not because of how the mechanics work. That may be a reason for some people, but for me, like, Marvel Crisis Protocol, I heard it was a solid game to play, but also, more importantly, I'm a big superhero nerd, so it was a way of playing that wasn't HeroClix. And it's exactly what you're saying. It's like, it's the background first, and then secondary is the game piece itself.
Yeah, because it's like 100%. How can I put this in the right way? So when I see like a computer game clip, let's say you're scrolling through Reddit, right? and like a Valorant clip comes up, or I don't know, like I don't know any. I've never played the game. Yeah. And there's also not a movie about it, and I don't get it at all. Like, just doesn't make any sense to me. So like I see it, and I don't know what the thing is that I'm seeing, or I don't get the meme. I just don't get it because I'm not in the universe. Whereas I see a Star Wars one, I get it, and I guess that's true of every fandom. You have to actually get into the fandom to know. But I think when stuff is like cross-media platform, like therefore has story to it, that's what I'm trying to get at. Which is why I think actually, that if you look, the big studios really understand that. So Riot, as an example, have got a huge thing going at the minute. They've hired like authors. They're putting out actual stories. They've got like huge background development being done. They're also like taking their game and pushing it in loads of different ways. They're producing like
different versions of it,
like a TGC version. I'm pretty certain there'll be a miniatures version of it at some point. Pretty certain that there'll be a miniatures version. There's no reason they couldn't take the entire Marvel Crisis Protocol shell and just do that with their champs right now and do a miniatures game. Pretty certain that that's on the cards, right? And that background narrative that they've created, and they've hired loads of authors, so they understand the story is really, really important. So anyway, I think Games Workshop taking the codexes and putting less story in, which is the long version way of saying it, is probably not good for them. But they've got enough established lore, so like give a fuck. They've got like 1 billion books you can read. Yeah. I think there is a board game for League of Legends with miniatures. Is there? I did not know that.
There is one. It's got the minions and stuff, and it didn't look great as a board game nerd, so I was like, pass. It probably is quite fun, but it's one of those things that if it doesn't scream out immediately, you're not going to dip into it.
Yeah. So Yes Meatball says F1 and football have twisted our expectations of how much we can tolerate advertising shoved in our faces. I would agree, absolutely. I also just don't think I just don't think it belongs on a tabletop. It just doesn't make any sense. Like
unless it's Blood Bowl.
Yeah, because it's a sport,
but
right?
Then taking the piss, and you put like blood hammer, a blood visor and stuff. It's meant to be a satire. So yeah.
Anyway. If there's no... that's all the stuff we really had to talk about today, plus some tangents and rants.
Yeah, we had fun, right?
That's fun.
1:15.
Yeah, we don't have to go anywhere. I just thought I'd be conscious of the time. Unless anyone's got anything they want to chat about in the chat that's major or something that we think we've missed today. I have got only terrain to paint for the whole day. That's my job. John? Although actually, I'm putting milliput on bases is what actually I'm doing today, not...
Ooh, which bases, though?
On the basis for the terrain. Do you want to hold the chat and I'll go show you guys an example? All right, wait there 1 sec. You carry on.
Right, let's have a look in the chat then. Kolaroo extensively complains about the lack of Chaos Marine Codex. Yeah, that's one that I'm itching to see with what they do now. So I have a real suspicious feeling that the Chaos Space Marine Codex is not going to be the same as we're used to. So at the moment, there's no Emperor's Children or World Eaters narrative in the core book at all. So I think that book might become a very different book as a result.
Say him.
Oh, Rob's. So Kolaroo was putting about the lack of a Chaos Space Marine Codex. I think that's going to be a really weird one and interesting one to see because of the lack of Emperor's Children and World Eaters narrative in the core book. Makes me feel like that book's going to be one of those weird kind of split books where it's got supplements attached to it, perhaps.
My question is why don't they, like, I've said this earlier already, I know this show, but, like, if they don't do this, like, it makes sense that you do the Chaos Space Marine book, and then you have the additional supplement books, like you see.
Yeah.
Like, but whatever. I mean, the core book, obviously Thousand Suns should get its own book, like Death Guard.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, because they're different enough.
But it's weird, right? They're like, Death Guard is different enough, but Blood Angels aren't. And you're like...
I think the difference is they're still within the Imperium, whilst all the Chaos guys they've gone on their own their own journey. It's like the Chaos guys are more the equivalent of saying Craftworld and Drakari are the same thing, and they should be in the same book. But they're at some point in time they went separate ways, and the Chaos stuff's the same. That combined with the God and like all the stuff changing related to their gods. There's
also a point Sergeant Rolf wants me to point out in the chat, and I think it's super fair. Is there's the creative element of Warhammer versus Star Wars, Game of Thrones, and Marvel. Yeah. So when I am playing Game of Thrones, I'm role-playing, right? Like, I am the Starks or the Lannisters, or even like a subset of the Starks or whatever. Yeah, Game of...
it becomes more like the way historical wargamers play, that you're you're trying to make it look like those things. Like you're not going to paint. You might paint your Spider-Man in weird colors, but generally people are going to go, "I'm painting it like I remember Spider-Man looking," and
Yeah.
it'll be trying to fit that kind of. It's that kind of simulation.
Yeah, it's more of a simulation, 100%. Whereas Sergeant Rolf pointed out, and it's super fair, you can just do your own thing. Like, you get to be creative in the hobby, and I think that that's excellent. There was some examples of them trying to foot stamp on the neck of us at some point a few years ago in a lot of the Age of Sigmar battle terms. Like, your barrack, this was in the KO book, not this one, but the one before, must be painted in these colours for it to be those. Like, there was, like, it was in the book, and like, the whole community was just like, nope. Nope.
I'm just going to spray all mine gold.
I have never seen so much mugging off on Twitter in my life. It was just like, everyone was like, not doing that. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think the creative element is super, super good. Kelbar says, what's my view on Listbot that's been shared with the community? I think it's great. I think JP's really talented. I think it's a super cool little tool. I don't think it's, like, 100% accurate. And I also think that, like, they're, like, anyway, yeah, like, it's not based on, like, tons of data. Like, it has got loads of data in it. Let me be clear. I think that, like, and it will only get better over time. That's my point. It's, like it'll be better as time goes on. I think JP's super clever, and it's super cool to see that stuff happening, I would say. I think the raw numbers are also sometimes a bit tough in some situations, like, and why the purpose of, like, having just the raw numbers is really useful. Like, when LLV would give me all the raw numbers, but it would take a good long conversation to turn those raw numbers into why we're seeing that example.
It's the context, right?
Yeah, like, for instance, the Sun, like, so, like, snapshot, what you'll have over the next couple of days is someone being like, Sons of Behemat, there were 3 armies at 2 events and they all went 4-1. And I'm like, okay, snapshot, yes. My thoughts are that once you played Sons of Behemat once, you know what to do, and then you play it again. And I think compared to other armies, so just on release for some other armies, I know Sons of Behemat aren't new, but tournaments are pretty much new again. So let's just be clear. Upon release, normally what happens is you get a big spike in wins for an army, and then it generally decreases over time. Generally. Sometimes not. Sometimes it spikes big and stays big. Sinesh, Flesh-Eater Courts are examples of stuff that spiked big and stayed big. In fact, got bigger. Daughters of Cain spiked big, stayed big. I think Sons of Behemat, like, I don't think they're even necessarily going to spike big. I think it's just been a weekend of data. And I think that's one of the other things about generally the data sets anyway, is sometimes they need some analysis because we don't have the volume of data that we generally get. So I think Listbot's an amazing thing, but you still do need to read between the numbers. And some people will also use those numbers. So what some people will do is they'll just separate out, they'll pass, look at the top 10. The factions, there's so many different factions in the top 10. And you're like, well, okay, you're being disingenuous because actually there are 3 players that went 5-0, and there are 4 players that went 4-1, let's say, yeah, and then everything else is 3-2s or whatever. Right, so you're being the top 10 is just an arbitrary line that you've drawn because it's some sort of round number. So you've got to sometimes you just got to break it through. But Listbot, excellent. JP, excellent. Meta Breakers is cool. Really like that. Big fan. So
because to me, I think it'd be more interesting. If say you said 4-1 for 2, Sons of Behemat lists, it'd be interesting to see out of those 8 that lost to them, how many of them had played a single game against that book. Yeah, I think it'd be surprisingly high, right? That they wouldn't have. Yeah.
So there we go. I hope that answers the question. Do I think Stormcast are going to be the next chamber? 100%. Right. This is what I'm doing today, John. I'll just drop some off. So I don't know if you guys can. Oh no, it's bloody yellow, so you guys can't see. It's
I can see it, but they can't see it.
That's
cool.
Right,
Very bright.
I know. Well, that's just the filament that I've used. So this is a piece of MDF. Boop, boop, boop. I've shaved the sides off, with a scalpel,
softened it,
big blade, so it fits into the board more. So right now I've put a bunch of milliput around it, just to create some different heights and layers, and also to pin in the bits of terrain, as you guys can see here. And then I'm doing that with a board's worth of stuff. So this is my crystal board. So this is 9x5, which is the size of a piece of 40k woods, and then this one, is. Guys, you're not going to be able to see the top as well. Looks cool though with that little feature.
That's super sweet. Yeah,
it's cool, eh? But so again, same thing. And then all I'm going to do is add. I bought some crystals, and some sand.
Just buy them from Tom.
Yeah. So some crystals and sand, and then that's all going to go on top of it, and then I'm going to spray the whole piece, and then start painting it properly. So that's what I'm doing today. It doesn't take that long, really, and didn't take that much milliput to do. I just really like Milliput. It sets really well. It's got a super nice texture. I think it looks really good. It like you can pull it up in places where it just so like you can. I don't know if you guys can see super well, but right here it's kind of raised up a little bit, and it's just created.
Yeah.
Like, and then once I do sand and other stuff, it just feels like a little bit natural in some ways.
Yeah. Because you're adding organic shapes to it, so it's not all just uniform. Because there's nothing worse than just putting sand on a flat surface. It just looks like a flat surface.
Yeah. So that's what I'll be spending the day doing today, and it's quite interesting doing that. Like what you stick on the bit of wood, because then what you end up with this as a piece of terrain. This is important. So these individual pieces, you can't see them. It's such a fuck up. I picked out the yellow one of all of them. But as you can see, this piece, they're 3 individual pieces that are printed out. So you could put that out as one piece of terrain, but then it just becomes weird. Like honestly, whereas this as like a square shape like set, just put that down, like color match it to the board so that you can't really see it, but you kind of know it's there, sort of thing. Like, and then you're like, okay, I've taken up quite a large volume with these 3 pieces. And this is going to count as like a forest. So it'll be obscuring, basically. So like the magical energies from the crystals have obscured line of sight.
So it's a similar approach I've been doing this week. So I tried to figure out a solution to the Kill Team Necron terrain.
Right.
I've had a couple of people say, I don't want it. You can have them. And I went, right, I'm going to make something good out of this shit. And I've just done exactly that. I've got the footprint of a wood, put enough of it so that you can put some kind of interesting shapes of them. I'm going to make it so they're sticking out of the kind of the Martian crust to look like it's a 2 mold coming out. But I've designed it so that you can get 10 32 mil bases on it as well, like a wood.
Okay.
And then you've got that kind of difference of terrain. Because I think that's what we're missing at the moment, right? It's buildings or nothing, or just a big thing.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's the area terrain we're missing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
In 40K
at
least.
I think that there's some additional stuff that like I could put on a board to make a board look a little bit more alive. But then you can just say to players, like, the stuff that's on the MDF, you can't move. Yeah. But like, if I put like a random hill or wall, not a hill, that's too big, a wall, like some scatter terrain, whatever, I can just be like, you guys, if that's in your way, just fuck it off, just move it out of the way. Like, you're cool. But like having functional, so like this, I know this seems weird, but like I think this is really nice. Actually, I think this makes loads of sense. So if you've got, this is on the board, and again these individual pieces, you just got a unit here. They're safe now, so you could easily put like 10 people behind this, or like a unit, and they're obscuring, which is super cool. And you just make it so that they can pass through it. That's fun. Yeah. We need more
practical and pretty, and I think that's something that everyone needs more of in their games.
I could also just, like Connery says, buy the 12,000 Wildwoods that are on eBay for 30p each.
I did look, and it was hard work trying to get people to send them to places, and they're kind of hard to ship with all the spindly like trees, and also they're fucking annoying to play with, right?
Oh, they're the worst. I mean, as long as you don't glue the trees in, they're actually if you don't glue the trees in, Wildwoods are incredible pieces of terrain. You just have them
and without the leaves as well.
No, you just take them off. Like you just don't glue them in, so you have them in there, and you just be like, if you guys need to, you just take them off and work around it. But so visit a couple of local game stores now. Have a DOK book and dispel some more Necrons. Good work, Lordwin. All right, John, let's get going today.
It's been good. Yeah, you need to get on some work, and I need to go produce a video for a certain next week.
Yeah, so next Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the audience, of the crowd, get hype, get serious, get real. It's the 369th. It's the Stream Streak first birthday. Next Sunday. Sunday. Sorry. So week today. Sunday until midday until 10 p.m. That's what we've got going on. Yeah. So it's going to be a whole day. Loads of guests. It's going to be just a general hangout, celebrating. John is actually doing a supercut. So John, Matt, and sorry again, big shout out to those 3. They're doing a supercut of their favourite clips from the past year. If any of you listening to the podcast or watching live, you have a favourite clip and you want to send it to us that John can throw into the mashup video, let us know. Yeah. So tweet us. Just
let me know the timestamp and the date, and it's fine.
Yeah, so if you guys want to timestamp, so a really easy thing you can do is if you go back to the clips on YouTube, or if you go to the clips on Twitch, any of those, just grab a clip, grab the timestamp, and just send it to us, and then put it all together. How salty will the clips be?
So salty.
Salty
There's so many times of, I think I'm going to have at least 5 or 6 of Rob going, it's stream streak. The number. I can't remember this, and it's just. I gave up
after like 200. I was like, whatever, who cares? Like, I don't care.
Age is just a number.
Age is just. Jesus, what a way to end the show. Right, you're all brilliant. Thanks very much for being here. You're all amazing people. John, you're great. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Thank you to everyone on Patreon. Anyone who joins Patreon, like, it's super, it really, really is appreciated. And if you don't, that's fine. Or if you have and you can't afford to anymore, that's also cool. Like, live your life. But thanks for being brill. Have a nice day. Look after yourselves. See you tomorrow. Oh, wait, no. See you later tonight. 7:30 tonight. Me, Neil, and Tom discussing the WTC pairing system. It's going to be so fucking good. I'll see you there. Bye.